and I hope everyone had a great 4th of July. Now, as everyone knows, we have a really busy work period ahead of us, and we know it's not going to be easy, but every member of our caucus knows it's going to be worth it. First, I want to remind everyone, because of Senate Democrats, this week, tens of millions of American families will receive their first monthly CTC check. It's a huge deal. It's going to help many families. It helps poor families, and half the kids in America will either be brought up out of poverty or close to the poverty line. And for a poor family that's worried about paying the rent or putting food on the table, this is a godsend that a lot of people of higher income don't even contemplate or realize. And it also helps middle-class families. We all know middle-class families have struggled with COVID in many ways, whether it's child care or losing a job or lower salaries or you name it, and this is going to help them too. And so we're really proud of it, and it's a huge deal. And it shows you when Democrats are unified and working for average middle-class families, we can get a lot done, and the country is on our side to get it done. I also want to add to you that I am meeting at 3 p.m. With a brave group of Democratic lawmakers from Texas. What the Republican governor is doing in Texas is just despicable. Despicable. It boils my blood to even watch what they're doing to these brave people, when there's not any serious evidence of voter fraud. We know what they're doing. History will show them that they're on the right. History will show that these Texas legislators, these brave people who are visiting us here in D.C., are on the right side. And history will show that the Texas governor are on the wrong side. And when you hear the arguments from some of our Senate Republicans, they're not that different than the arguments made by segregationist senators from the South 50 years ago, in terms of voting rights and states' rights to block voting rights, etc. Now, let me go to infrastructure. We are really making good progress on our two-track strategy. You can ask my colleagues here. We had a great caucus discussion. Views were discussed, but the unity in our caucus, that we all know that the worst outcome for the American people is for us to do nothing, I think every Democratic senator understands that. And every Democratic, once you understand that, you know that we must have unity. There are lots of members who would want to say, well, if I don't get this, I can't vote for the bill, or if I don't get that. But that can't happen if we're going to help the American people in the boldest, biggest legislation in a very, very long time that helps the middle class. Compare our bill to the Republican bill, their big major foray. Their foray was a tax cut on the very wealthy. Some statistics show the top 1% got 83% of their benefit. Our bill is aimed at the middle class and those struggling to get there in a variety of, in many, many different ways. And I really salute Joe Biden for putting it on the table, and I salute my colleagues for making new additions that they want to put in that bill. The federal government has not made and on the bipartisan infrastructure bill, we're moving forward. We had a report today. We had a report from Kirsten Sinema, and she is optimistic that we can get to the goal that I proposed, that we have legislation ready by Friday. Our infrastructure, with the largest economy in the world, our infrastructure is 13th. And so we need to do that. So it's time to rebuild our infrastructure, create millions of good-paying jobs, particularly for those who've been unable to get those jobs, help American families keep up with rising expenses, and deal with the scourge of global warming, which Patty just saw in her state. To hear that it was 115 degrees in Portland, Oregon, must make everybody. No, I know, but you were only 106 or something, right?
They were 112, 115.
112, okay. To hear that it was 115 degrees, which I just heard, even in the beautiful, cool, lovely place of Seattle on Puget Sound, sorry for my attempt at poetry, it just should be a warning signal to everyone that we have to act. So, we've all been talking with one another. The Budget Committee will meet tonight. I'm hopeful that we can come up with an agreement. I've been speaking to the White House on a daily basis. I've been speaking to my members all around the clock, and our plan is to move forward with both tracks. In this work period, I believe we're in a good place to try and get that done, as difficult, and we don't underestimate as difficult as this task is. Senator Durbin.
It's an honor to continue this weather report on behalf of the Majority Leader. You don't have to be a weatherman to know which way the wind's blowing, someone once said. Let me say a word or two about Senate Judiciary Committee. There was an article in one of the papers this morning about the pace of filling vacancies in the new Biden administration. No complaints from the Judiciary Committee. The White House has been sending us extraordinary nominees to serve on the courts. We have some coming in from the state of Washington, and very soon. So far, in the last 6 months, Senate Democrats have confirmed 7 Article III judges, 5 district courts, 2 appeals courts. 2 are pending on the Senate floor. We have 8 additional judges pending in committee and 13 that have been nominated, awaiting a committee hearing. We're moving at a good pace. The men and women that are being sent to us are all qualified by the American Bar Association, unlike the predecessor president and his experience. We're going to continue to do our best to balance the court with good people, with experience, and the kind of credentials we can be proud of. Let me just say a word about the caucus lunch, and I'll defer to my colleagues from this point. There's a spirit in this caucus today that I feel very good about. Public service is a wonderful opportunity in life, but it requires many sacrifices from individuals and their families. But there are moments when you see an opportunity. And today, when the chairman of the Budget Committee came before us and talked about his visions of things that we can move towards, a door opened for many of us. We saw a once-in-a-political-lifetime opportunity to do something that'll make a difference in America. So many Americans are cynical about this political process because they don't believe we ever do anything that really affects their lives. I think we're showing with this child tax credit that we can do something that will affect their lives. And I might bears reminding people, not a single Republican congressman or senator would vote for the American Rescue Plan of Joe Biden. Breaks my heart when I think of all the good things that are done. We have a vaccination program across the United States that is the best in the world because of the American Rescue Plan, which all the Republicans voted against. Help for businesses, cash payments that went to families, and now this child tax credit. In my home county of Sangamon County in downstate Illinois, there are 8,000 children who are below the poverty line, 8,000 in that little county. Half of them will be brought above poverty on average in that county, and almost to 200,000 in the state of Illinois, not to mention the millions across the United States. It makes me feel good about going to work in the morning and believing that these kids are going to have a fighting chance now to appreciate the things in life which all of us took for granted. That's good work, and we have a lot more to do.
Senator Murray.
Well, thank you. You know, in the last 6 months, Democrats have really focused first and foremost on what families need to come back from this crisis. Instead of saying, you guys are on your own, we said to the country, we can get through this together. We passed the American Rescue Plan to get shots in arms, help students get back in the classroom safely, support our small businesses, and give struggling families help directly to make it through an incredibly tough time. In fact, just 2 days from now, working families will start receiving the expanded child tax credit. This is a huge help to families who've lost jobs or income in the wake of the pandemic. But we aren't done, because in addition to getting through this, we want to make sure our country can build back stronger and fairer than before. We want to make sure that every family who needs it can get quality, affordable child care. Because I can't tell you how many families tell me child care costs are the one thing keeping their family from being financially stable. We've got to finally ensure that every worker can get paid leave when they need to care for themselves or a loved one. We've got to set up our next generation up for success by putting higher education within reach of every American through free community college, and work to find ways that immigrants who've done so much to keep our country running can have a fair pathway to citizenship. And to anyone who felt that 115 degrees in Washington State or in Oregon, or who is now grappling with wildfires or drought, the extreme weather patterns which are quickly now becoming the norm are not the exception. It is crystal clear that we need an historic investment in climate action to dramatically reduce emissions, and we've got to rebuild our roads and bridges and transit to be greener and more resilient, which, by the way, will create more good-paying jobs. All this consequential work is underway in the Senate right now. And just a reminder, as much as the discussion around some of these issues, child care or paid leave or climate, can be partisan here in the U.S. Capitol, they are just everyday realities for people in the country. Everyday stresses and setbacks people have felt for a long time, especially people who are most likely to bear the burden, like women, communities of color, and people with low incomes. That is why all of what I've just outlined above has so much support from the American people. People want their elected officials to deal with the same challenges that they are facing in their own lives. We've got an historic opportunity to do exactly that in the coming weeks and months, to truly build back our economy so it works for workers and families, not just for billionaires and huge corporations. And we are determined to deliver.
Thank you. Well, this is a great week, and my colleagues have been talking about service and our caucus, and the reality is that we make decisions that show who we care about and what we care about. And our vision as Democrats is very different from the Republicans, obviously. 2017, they decided to give a $2 trillion tax cut to the wealthiest people and the largest corporations in America. This week, starting Thursday, we will see the largest tax cut for working families to date and the largest effort to support low-income families to be lifted out of poverty that we have seen yet. And we intend to do more, by the way. But July 15th, people will see in their bank accounts or a check in the mail money per child that will allow them to support their family, create opportunity, take care of them, and lift themselves out of poverty. If your child is under age 6, it will be $300 per month to the end of the year. If your child is 6 to age 17, it will be $250 per person. And all of this is up to a top $150,000 income for a couple. Bottom line, if you got the $1,400 stimulus check that we put in the American Rescue Plan, and if you filed your taxes year after year, IRS has your information, you don't have to do anything. It's going to come to you. If you have not, if you're somebody who's been working hard in a minimum wage job, but you're just not above the poverty line, haven't been able to benefit from the previous tax code in this tax cut, or if you're somebody who's just struggling to hold it together, all you have to do is go to childtaxcredit.gov, sign up. It's very simple, and you will receive the support that you need and you deserve. The bottom line for us is lifting up working people, opportunities for people to get into the middle class, and letting folks know that somebody's got their back. That's what the child tax credit expansion is all about. That's what this tax cut is all about for working families. We want the tax code to work for working families. That is our priority. And we want people to know that somebody's got their back, and that Democrats are going to keep working to make sure they get even more opportunities to be successful for their families.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Question about the security supplemental. Leahy and Shelby have proposals that are billions of dollars apart. Are you willing to bring Leahy's supplemental bill to the floor, even if Republicans do not come to any agreement with him this work period, even if it makes
Look, I find it absolutely confounding that the Republican minority is not eager to give money to our Capitol Hill police, many of whom risked their lives, over 100 of whom were injured, and of course we had the fatality. It's just appalling that they're unable to do it. and we're going to fight hard. Senator Leahy talked to us at the lunch about it. He's sitting down with Senator Shelby. But these folks defended us. These folks are doing their jobs. And Republicans are somehow, they get so contorted and so twisted in a knot that they're withholding money from them. Stop it. Nope, one, yes.
When you meet with these Texas Democrats later today, they're going to tell you they want to carve out from the filibuster for voting rights legislation. Is that something you personally would support, and what level of support do you think that would find in your Congress?
I first salute them. I respect them. They're wonderful. I've talked to a few of them on the phone over the last few days. And as I've said before, everything is on the table. Next. Nope. Go ahead. Yes.
The Senate has spent a lot of time on nominees in the last 6 months. Do you feel like you have enough floor time to get through all the legislation?
Look, we're going to have to make the floor time. As I said, and I've told my caucus and a dear colleague last Friday, we have a whole lot to do. It's a very busy time. And if we have to extend work nights or weekends, if we have to extend our session on into the August state work period, we may have to do that. We got to get it done. Now remember, as Dick Durbin outlined, we have so far passed more judges in the first 6 months before July 4th than Donald Trump did in his first months, and many other administrations as well. So we're going to keep at it, judges and appointments. Yes?
Thank you. What do you think, what would you like to hear from Democrats and members of the Senate here as they push to support the Cuban protesters here? Are they doing enough to back that cause right now?
Well, I support freedom in Cuba. I really feel for the protesters, and I hope that we will get strong support. I believe my caucus is strongly in support of the freedom for the Cuban protesters. Way back there.
Mr. Leader, why not take the Republican proposal and just pass the Capitol Police funding and the National Guard funding, and then move on to the broader issues that Senator Leahy?
Well, they've put so many issues in the way. One of the issues that's there, the only one that I know, is helping some of these Afghan translators come to the United States. If they don't, these people who risk their lives for our soldiers will be lined up and shot by some prognostications. We ought to do that as well. Yes.
What was your message to the caucus today about the importance for unity and not drawing any lines in the sand as far as...
You took the words out of my mouth. I said there's importance to unity and don't draw lines in the sand. And everybody agreed. So Majority Leader Bolton, good job. Last one. No, I'll give you two, DeBonis.
You said that you reserved the right to call election reform legislation back onto the floor. Are you committing to doing that this year? And if so, what legislation?
As I said, what happened in late June, where not a single Republican would vote to even debate Senator Manchin's proposal, was just the starting gun. And there's going to be lots more things we are going to pursue to get voting rights done. Last one, DeBonis.
The sort of ambitious generational changes you are hoping to do in this reconciliation bill that you and Senator Murray described, can you do that in a bill that is fully paid for, fully offset, doesn't damage the national debt?
One of the things that was presented in our caucus is that we could fully pay for the bill. That's one of the options on the table, but that is doable, absolutely. Thank you, everybody.
One of the hallway